Hello there, boys and girls, 7th graders. It's Mr. K, your art teacher, welcoming you to another day of distance learning and drawing. It's a great day to make some art. Let's continue on adding some wonderful details, and today in particular, color to our 2-point perspective pieces. I trust you've been adding to yours each and every day. These will be due to be posted tomorrow, which is Friday, 3 o'clock p.m. I added the assignment to Google Classroom. Please post that by 3 p.m. in the afternoon so that I can take a look at your wonderful art, and it really does bring a smile to my face. So let's get started. Today's goal is I want to start integrating some outlining and some coloring into my piece. I'm not going to draw anything new today. I do, however, want to point out that since we've last met, I've turned this addition into a garage space, and I extended the roof with kind of like a metallic setup, put a garage door on the front there, and that's simply to give you some ideas for your own creations. You do not have to add the extension, but I do think that the extensions and the additions look very, very nice. As far as supplies today, what I have here is a see-through protractor. I just figured that would be a little easier for me to maneuver around in and on some of the lines that I'm probably going to be darkening in. I'm sure you've seen these in math class. And I'm going to go with a Sharpie because one of the options is to possibly outline some of the lines of the structure itself. And I have kind of a smorgasbord, a plethora of colored pencils that I'm going to use. Crayons are just fine. I would not lean too heavily on markers aside from perhaps using them to outline some lines and possibly utilizing them to color in some small spaces. The markers tend to fade out and lose some of their strength as you use them more and more. I'm sure you've experienced that. It's troubling and sometimes mildly annoying. So I kind of tell my students to not lean on them too heavily. That's not to say they're not a wonderful supply. They are. But sometimes if you start an area in marker and you move to another particular spot in your piece, you yourself have experienced this. The marker might be stronger in one particular area as opposed to the other because they just wear out after a while. Okay, so use your markers sparingly. Alright, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to simply demonstrate that one of your options for finalizing your house details will be to take a thin marker or pen and begin outlining the details of your structure, kind of like what I'm doing here. And as you can see, it really sharpens the line. It really gives your piece a polished look, and it's just a phenomenal way to finalize a lot of detail with regard to these structures. So I'm going over a few of these logs, and let's carve out some of these striational lines, these squiggly log lines that create the look of texture. Now, after you have gone over some of these lines, you can always drag an eraser across your work to eliminate any stray markings left behind from your pencil work. Okay, so that is definitely an option moving forward towards completion. Outlining, outlining your graphite with marker. I just want to show you one last little area here, because inside that door we had an area of shadow that I think will look really nice. And very polished with a little marker outlining. Okay, so have some fun with that. Get lost in your drawing for a little while and carve out some of those creative details. Next, let's move along to some color blends. We mentioned yesterday a light source in the sky, so I'm going to grab some warm colors here, and I grabbed 3 here just to experiment with. Got a bright yellow, got a red, and I've got an orangey shade here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with a base coat of this yellow, and notice that I'm going all in the same direction, keeping it uniform. And neat. Okay, that's a good start. Now what I sometimes do is I take another shade, a darker shade, and I slowly blend that in where I think it belongs. So I guess what I'm imagining here is there's a darker side to the moon or the sun, and I'm hitting up the left side here with an orange color added to the existing yellow. And just to make it even more vibrant, I'm going to outline it with a little bit of this fiery red. To really finish it off strong. Okay. Let's work on the sky a little bit. So I grabbed up 3 shades of blue here. There's a real dark indigo blue. There's a medium, mid-tone, ultramarine, and here's a lighter shade of blue. So what I'll do here is I'm going to start with the lighter shade first. I'm going to move in and around those clouds. Notice I've got my page slightly tilted. Nice even tone with which to begin the sky. Now, boys and girls, I'm going to point this out to you now. I'm purposely going to stay away from any of this portion to the right here of my drawing. I'm staying away from that area because tomorrow, one of the last things we'll talk about is placing a tree and some other little details in the yard. So I want to leave this area kind of open here because any tree that I'm going to put in there tomorrow, it's going to be placed in front of parts of those hills. Perhaps a little bit of the house will be covered up by a tree branch or two or more. So I want to be careful to leave a lot of that space open and available. I'm adding some darker shades of blue in spots to create different values. You can use darker shades of a color, or you can simply press a little harder with that particular colored pencil. So I'm going in around the clouds here and I'm pressing just a little bit harder. I'm going to break my rule just a little bit by turning my pencil in opposite direction on the edge of that chimney there. Okay, but I'm going to go back to the same horizontal direction right now. Okay, so I'm trying to color blend here, moving my pencil in the same uniform style. Okay, now perhaps it's closer to dusk, and I want there to be a hint of nightfall creeping into my scene. So I'm going with the darker indigo blue, which will add to the overall tone and mood of the piece. Give it a little more of a nighttime appearance. You can choose whatever colors you want. Don't think you've got to do exactly what I'm doing here. I am just putting together some ideas for you moving forward. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Because what I noticed was, as I was color blending in and around the roof of the house, I feel like I lost a little bit of that top line there, some of the sharpness. So I'm going to go back and reestablish. I'm turning my paper into a vertical position so that I can get just the right angle for carving that line out once again. And while I'm here, I might as well do the edge of this house, edge of that roof there. Let's do the angle towards the peak here. Okay. Yeah, that's starting to look real nice. And I think you probably realize by now, when I do these little suggestions for you, I leave very much undone. And it goes without saying that, of course, I want you to take it a step further and fill in or color in all the areas that I have left blank or undone. Okay? Because if I had you watch me the whole time, gosh, it would take forever. These videos would end up being hours instead of minutes, and you'd never get any work done because you'd sit there watching me the whole time. So I'm going to finish out with a little bit of the hill here, and I'm breaking my rule a little bit to like leave this space alone. But I think you'll forgive me. Like I said, tomorrow I'll put a tree in, and I think I got enough area here where I can carve out a nice tree, and then I will erase parts of the sidewalk, and if it goes over some of this garage here or the hills, I'll adjust and adapt, okay? But what I'm doing here is, you see how I started that hill with a nice light green color, and I'm going into some of these darker areas with a darker green. Okay, get in here with a even darker shade there. So it's a lot of experimentation when you start blending your colors. Take your time, don't scribble. Have some fun. Do a good job. Take pride in your work. I know you kiddos do. I've seen what you've done. It's very entertaining, very enjoyable. One last thing I'm going to do here before I sign off is I'm going to take this black and I'm even going to put in a little bit of black where some of those shadows are hanging out. Okay? So here's what I want you guys to do today. I want you to start thinking about adding some color to your piece. I want you to think about sharpening up your lines and making your artwork really begin to pop with some different colors. Don't be afraid to experiment with different shades, different tones, certain blends. Go lightly at first, and you can always make your colors more intense as you move forward. Okay, I hope you have a lot of fun with what you're doing today. I know I enjoy coming into your homes in this new distance learning format. And be proud of what you're doing. We'll meet again tomorrow. I'll have some final reminders for you, some requirements for getting a really good grade, and one of the last things we'll discuss is a tree drawing exercise that will really establish a beautiful looking tree somewhere in your yard. Happy drawing. Good luck today. Until we meet again, be well, stay safe. Thank you.